These are the new Google Pixel 3 phones. This is the third generation of smartphones made by Google under the Pixel brand, and it's pretty much the most optimized version of Android that you can get on a smartphone. We had the opportunity to get some hands-on time with the new Pixel 3 phones before they were announced. Here's what you need to know. The first thing you're going to notice about the new Pixel 3 is that it appears to have the same dual-tone construction as last year's Pixel 2. But where last year's Pixel 2 felt like plastic on the back, this is a smooth glass on the bottom and a shiny glass on top. This is so the phone can support wireless charging. The OLED displays in the Pixel 3 are supposed to be improved, which is a good thing because last year's Pixel 2 XL phone had some scattered issues with its OLED display. And another thing you're going to notice is that the display is bigger than last year's phones. Google has done something similar to what Apple's done. It kept the phone bodies the same size as previous generations, but it basically made the display bigger using cutouts and an edge-to-edge display. And the Pixel 3 XL has a notch. The Pixel 3 comes in 3 colors. This is just black. There's also clearly white, and my personal favorite, not pink. All in all, I would say this feels like a really nice phone. I think the construction is definitely a lot nicer than last year's Pixel 2, and I like this little color accent here too. Some other things that are new about the Pixel 3. The phones are running on a Qualcomm Snapdragon 845 processor, which is a bump up from last year's Snapdragon 835 processor. They're shipping with a brand new mobile security chip, which Google is calling Titan M. This is the same security chip that Google uses in its data centers, apparently, and it's something that's supposed to protect the data of the lock screen, basically the encrypted disk. Anything that's going on in this phone that's supposed to keep secure, it's going to be tasked to this new Titan M chip. It now has an IP68 waterproof rating, and also, this is a nice touch, it is shipping with an adapter and USB-C headphones in the box. But here's the thing that's probably going to stand out the most on these new phones, and that's the camera. There are a lot of new camera features on the new Pixel 3. So many, in fact, that at the time we did this hands-on, they weren't all totally ready yet, and we couldn't use them all. But we're definitely going to do that once we get a review phone, so stay tuned for that. Now, some of these new features are because of hardware upgrades. For example, the rear lens in the camera has been improved, and the front camera now has 2 wide-angle lenses, which means you can take really wide-angle selfies, which is pretty fun. And Google says that its visual core, which is its imaging co-processor on the phone, has been updated, and that more camera-related tasks have been given to the core. But a lot of the camera updates in this phone are using sophisticated software, because that's what Google's really good at. I mean, for example, this camera lens on the back, still a single lens camera, and yet Google is still able to do something like depth adjustment on a portrait photo after the fact, which is something its competitors also do, but it's doing it with software. There's a feature called Top Shot, which captures a motion photo and then using AI picks the best still image so that if someone was blinking or a hair was in their face or they were just making a goofy face, Top Shot will pick a pretty decent picture for you. There's also a feature called Photo Booth, which was borrowed from the Google Clips camera, where you open Photo Booth and then once you raise your phone and it recognizes that you're smiling, it will start taking a series of images of you from the front-facing cameras. So basically, you don't even have to think about photo taking. There's a night mode that has a longer exposure and pulls in as much visual information as possible to create a composite of your photos taken in the dark, so that even if they're taken in a really dim or dark setting, they look pretty decent. There's something called Super Res Zoom that's using machine learning to counter the shaking of your hand when you use optical zoom to zoom in on something really tight, and then to create a photo that looks more high resolution. And people with kids or pets are going to love this. There's a motion autofocus feature as well that keeps the camera focused on a moving object as you're trying to take a picture of it. Basically, Google is using a lot of AI and machine learning to make your photos look as good as possible, even when you're moving or your subject is moving or you're taking a photo in the dark, or even when you don't feel like manually taking the photo at all. It's a very Google approach to improving a phone's camera functions. Another really interesting feature that's launching with the Pixel 3 is that Google will screen your calls for you. It's called Call Screen.
Hi, the person you're calling is using a screening service and will get a copy of this conversation.
When an unknown number is calling your Pixel 3, an automated voice is initially going to answer the call for you. And then it will show you a bunch of options at the bottom of the screen here to basically take you through a conversation with the person who is calling and make them explain why they're calling. This is a great idea if it's a spam call, because if someone says, you've won a cruise, or you're late on your mortgage, or something like that, you can just reject the call. You'll see it in a transcription. But if it's someone legitimate, like your dentist, but you just don't have their number saved, you'll know that you should swipe to answer it. So how much are these new Pixel 3 phones going to cost you? The Pixel 3 starts at $799 for a configuration with 64 gigabytes of storage, and the Pixel 3 XL starts at $899, which puts it right in line with last year's phones, and also less than the new iPhones. These start shipping October 18th. Another gadget that Google is launching is this Pixel Stand, which costs $79. It's supposed to fast charge the phones wirelessly and also turns the phone's display into something of a smart display. So far, it seems like these new Pixel phones are a little more flashy than they usually are in terms of their build. But per usual, what's most interesting about these phones is what's going on the inside. Google doesn't have the same industrial design pedigree that Apple or Samsung have, so it tries to make up for it by making the smartest phone in the room. Let's see if it works.